Howdy folks, Lisa here at Everything Is a Lie. Welcome or welcome back as the case may be. It's an honour to have your time and attention as always. Today we tick another one off my mudflood bucket list. Big Bell came up for me over 3 years ago, and its proximity to a particular building in the town of Kew was very curious. And then I stumbled across Great Fingal on a completely different exploration, and the three are so close I just had to throw this video into the mix. We are back in Western Australia today, in the middle of nowhere again. Rubble, ruins, red dust and ridiculous tales, and dare I say, some man-made hills as well. Everything is a mine. You are here, and we are that far from anything. Buckle up as I throw us, wantonly, down another historical rabbit hole, or
wake up and listen.
Okay, let's kick off with Kew, Western Australia. Kew is a small town in the Midwest region of Western Australia, located 620 kilometres northeast of Perth. In the 2016 census, Kew had a population of 178. Kew is administered through the Kew Shire Council, which has its chambers in the historic Gentlemen's Club building. Overview and history. Gold was discovered in 1892, though there is uncertainty as to who made the first find. It doesn't really matter if you're making it up, does it? It was one of two blokes, anyway, who collected 260 ounces after being given a nugget by an Aboriginal known as Governor. That was a nice gift. Tom Kew, who must have known these blokes, travelled to Nanine, now a ghost town, to register their claim. On Nanine, I'll just briefly interrupt myself, I hate when I do that, but Nanine is, or should I say was, apparently next to a rather significant lake, and would you believe, an island, another inland island. Back to me. What a top bloke he must have been. So much so that the town was named after him a year later when it was gazetted in 1893. Note, there's no citations for any of this. In 1895, the town had 7 10-head stamp mills operating around the town, and they named them all. And we know this is true because it was in a letter sent to the editor of the Western Mail newspaper in 1895 by someone named F.C.B. Vosper. We better look at stamp mills or batteries. Right, stamp mill. I can't not look at this, I have to show you, but notice I'm not enthusiastic. A stamp mill, or a stamp battery or stamping mill, is a type of mill machine that crushes material by pounding rather than grinding, either for further processing or for extraction of metallic ores. Breaking material down is a type of unit operation. A stamp mill consists of a set of heavy steel, iron-shod wood in some cases, stamps, loosely held vertically in a frame in which the stamps can slide up and down. They are lifted by cams on a horizontal rotating shaft. As the cam moves from under the stamp falls onto the ore below, crushing the rock, and the lifting process is repeated at the next pass of the cam. Interesting, sounds like a valve engine. Each one frame and stamp set is sometimes called a battery, or confusingly, a stamp and mills are sometimes categorised by how many stamps they have, i.e. a 10 stamp mill has 10 sets. Well, that wasn't confusing. Why it's called a battery was confusing. They usually are arranged linearly, but when a mill is enlarged, a new line of them may be constructed rather than extending the line. Abandoned mill sites, as documented by industrial archaeologists, will usually have linear rows of foundation sets as their most prominent visible feature, as the overall apparatus can exceed 20 feet in height, requiring large foundations. Stamps are usually arranged in sets of 5. Some ore processing applications use large quantities of water, so some stamp mills are located near natural or artificial bodies of water. For example, the Red Ridge Steel Dam was built to supply stamp mills with processed water. The California stamp made its major debut at the 1894 San Francisco Midsummer Fair. It was the first type that generated electricity powered by a wood feed steam boiler. Steam started the wheels and belts turning. A generator that also was steam driven supplied the electricity for overhead lighting. Interesting, isn't it? This was a big plus for companies, enabling more production time. I'm going to skip the long-winded history that was largely written by mostly one person because I don't believe it. You know how to read Wikipedia if you want to check. I just want to look at the pictures from here. So here we have a section of Quincy mine unit operations diagram showing Alice Steam Stamp Mill. That's a really good description, isn't it? Okay. Detail of Californian stamp showing offset cam and rotating lifter. All in timber, nice. Interior of the Deadwood Terra Gold Stamp Mill. Look at the size of that. Is that old world? That looks old world. Or repurposed old world. Wow. And then it goes into pictures and unbelievable history. I think we'll leave it there. Continuing, the town's first water supply was a well in the centre of the main street. After an outbreak of typhoid fever, the well was capped with a rotunda built over the top. That fixed that problem. Then the water supply was replaced by another well dug near Lake Nanine, 20 kilometres away, and the water was then carted to the town site and apparently had to be purchased. This typhoid well story seems to contradict what the State Heritage Office says. I found this thing called the Quintal Blow off Austin Street near the corner of Robinson Street, Kew. And let me explain. I'll read. The Quintal Blow has a high historic significance as the site of the first gold find. It has further social significance as a location for the town's water supply. The Quintal Blow is a landmark in the town and a prominent feature of Austin Street. Is it on Austin Street or Robinson Street? Is this a successive supply to the typhoid well or a whole different scheme? It's something. It's definitely something. It's a granite and quartz outcrop located in Robinson Street. Quintal Blow is a prominent landmark and provides a natural outlook over the town. History. Quintal Blow is believed to be the place where gold was first discovered in Kew on New Year's Day 1892 by Michael John Fitzgerald. This was the site of the water tanks that provided the first reticulated water scheme. This only serviced Austin Street and was not particularly successful, but it was many years before a better scheme was provided. An editorial in the Murchison Advocate of September 29, 1900 commented that it is beyond question, unquestionably, it is beyond question a notable achievement that Little Kew should have been the first goldfields in Western Australia to provide itself with an efficient water supply, and one that will always be remembered of the Mayor and his colleagues. The foundation stone was laid by Lady Mayoress Mrs. B.C. O'Brien on August 1, 1900. The contractor, J.P. Campbell, and the town surveyor, E. Owen Hughes, are also recorded on the stone. Pipes were laid to the Murchison Club Hotel on July 15, 1901. Now, whilst that's all very interesting and contradictory, I notice that they have added a disclaimer to the page. This information is provided voluntarily as a public service. The information provided is made available in good faith and is derived from sources believed to be reliable and accurate, like plaques on buildings. However, the information is provided solely on the basis that readers will be responsible for making their own assessment of the matters discussed herein and are advised to verify all relevant representations, statements and information. Anyone need the toilet while we're here? Joking. Okay, so this is the corner of Austin and Robinson. Just so there's no confusion, we're looking for a rocky outcrop. I think that's it. We'll just keep checking. Nope, that's it. Okay, so that's a pile of rubble and a man-made hill. What's under it? I've got to ask that. Come on. What's under it? Heritage listed. Get out of town. The town of Day Dawn, 8 kilometres south, was established within a year. By 1900, a hospital and cemetery were established between the two towns, and they had 3 newspapers operating. Note here, Day Dawn is yet another ghost town, almost completely erased. It looks to be a mixture of old world buildings and tents, with a very interesting bridge or aqueduct near the centre there. There is one building still attributed to the town, the mine office. I'll come back to that. The rivalry between the towns, blah blah, again no citations. Nice story and well told. Following heavy rains in 1913, the old Kew battery dam broke away from the force of the water pressure. The dam had only been repaired a few months earlier, so says the West Australian newspaper. Shoddy workmanship? Oddly, there's no mention whether they built another or not. Down to transportation. Kew was the terminus for the Northern Railway in 1898 until the route was extended to Meekatharra almost 10 years later, and was also the junction for the branch line to Big Bell. The line closed in 1978. It has an airport. I saw it on Google. Still no citations though. Here's an interesting question. In 1895, how did they get 7 10-head stamp mills to the Kew area, some 500 kilometres from the coast or 600 kilometres plus from Perth City, out there without a railway? The railway didn't come until 3 years later. Population. I found this part very entertaining. By around 1900, Kew was the centre of the Murchison goldfields and boasted a population of about 10,000. As World War I drew men from the goldfields into the Australian Army, the town site of Day Dawn was abandoned. After the war, many of the mines did not reopen, and this started the decline of Kew as a major population centre. After the Great Depression and the fall in the price of gold, by 1933, the population of Kew had dropped to fewer than 500. Not one citation for any of that. Continuing, the current population is around 120. The major employer is Westgold, but few employees actually live in the town, accessing a fly-in, fly-out roster. At the very beginning, it said the population was 178. Never mind, let's continue. The Shire of Kew has 10 employees, and most other residents are self-employed as prospectors or government support workers. Kew was recently heritage listed, citation needed, as a town of significant historical value. Oh, no, wait, they've just realised they have no citations. I'm pretty sure that'll be on their webpage, Wikipedia. The main street has changed little since it was first built. There are several buildings within the town site that are icons in their own right. Again, they note there's no citation for that. Well, prove it then. They can't, they have no citation. Some images, skipping climate. Let's have a quick look at Google instead. Right, I wanted to show you the pitted and damaged stone on this wall and the bleaching around the bottom of this building, or perceived bottom of this building. Has a double-breasted chimney back there. Could be two fireplaces side by side, or one up, one down. Can't be sure without going in. There's the Club Hotel over here, the typical pub style building. Stone in this case, with a veranda added. I'll get closer, hold on. A cellar entrance here for the delivery of beer kegs. They usually have them, so it's easy to tell there's a basement or cellar level. That looks like a dodgy add-on at the top there. Could be covering something more. Chimney is not original or has been dressed down. Down there, that's the police complex as pictured on Wikipedia. Several buildings in there, nicely renovated. The Shire buildings over the road, or the former Gentlemen's Club, wink wink. I bet that had a basement. It does have a triple breast chimney, which could be two down and one up, or vice versa, or it could well be three stacked. Looks like another triple at the back there too. A mash of old stores. The ones on the right look later built, pretty dodgy. The far left has to be old world for sure, and the two-storey building looks like a building within a building. I saw a few of these in Queensland. They look like they're corrugated iron on the outside, but they've just boxed in the veranda and the original stone or brick building is underneath. There's the typhoid well cover-up, if you believe that story. Another two-storey old world back there. And back to where we started, all that damaged or bleached stone around the bottom, and lots of ventilation added to the subfloor. Single breast chimney on that side. I'd like to show you more, but strangely, Google only gives us the main street. How weird is that? Especially when the next town to the north, Meekatharra, only a slightly larger town. You can go anywhere. So, the only other place we can look at is this strange shaped man-made hill over here, the Lookout. It doesn't seem to have a name. We'll call it Mount Rubble then. Mount Rubble now seems to have the water supply under control, or over it, sorry. A quick pan, it's pretty level out there. A scattering of hills, nowhere near as mountainous as it appears from the Google drone. And most of the mines are below the ground, logically. A few images, not a lot there. There was one other building I need to mention, and the main reason I looked at the Q area in the first place. This one. No image there, but down here you can link to them. This one really is corrugated iron and disused now. Personally, I'd like to see under it. It has a very strange stone wall footing at the front, and the foundation stone in or on, stuck on it, is very cracked. It looks to be just a cast pottery face. Very faux-professional, isn't it? As befits the entire building. I have to wonder if they preferred the gentleman's club basement. It's a bit of a marvel, really, with the cute little Juliet balcony and the tech on top. We'll just have to wonder. I have no answers other than my first instincts. They've nicked bits from the other buildings they've demolished or dressed down. Moving on, we're heading over to the old Big Bell. Big Bell. I bet you can't guess what Big Bell is. It's okay, I can't hear you anyway. Big Bell is a ghost town in Western Australia, located approximately 30 kilometres southwest of the town of Kew. The town was established in 1936 and was home to the Big Bell gold mine. His story. Gold was discovered in the area in 1904 by Harry Payton, and a mine was quickly established. They get going quick, don't they? Ownership of the mine changed a number of times through the years, okay? Premier Gold Mining Company announced plans to develop the Big Bell mine in 1935. Quickly established it and then dithered about. Never mind. A township was established close to the mine in 1936 to provide accommodation for the mine workers. 36 blocks were sold in April of that year and another 80 in June. A population of about 850 soon inhabited the town site, and services included a number of shops, a post office and a hospital. This is all from the Heritage Council again, by the way. I wonder what land value's like now. One of the proposed names for the town was Townsend, with the main street to be known as Coodati Street. Excellent. I'm glad we have that straight. What I really wanted to know was, why did they call it Big Bell? This might have been more helpful. Thanks, Wikipedia. Don't worry, it gets better. The Big Bell Hotel was constructed and opened in 1937. It was a classic Art Deco style of the period, but is sadly now a ruin. The large two-storey building of brick construction has brick colonnading to the north and east facades and a curved corner, and once had a tiled roof. The hotel was reputed to have the longest bar in Australia. Thanks to the Mitsubishi Four-Wheel Drive Owners Club for that important information. We'll all sleep better tonight, won't we? It's a former railway branch terminus in Western Australia's Murchison region. The first train arrived in 1937. Going on, the line finally closed in 1955. Mining ceased in 2003 and the plant was dismantled and relocated. Not many of the buildings remain, but the roads stay visible in their original position as dirt tracks. I don't know what happened to the covering, if there ever was any. And the layout of the town is clearly discernible from the air. Wonderful, we'll take a look from the air then. Why is this even relevant? It's out of our timeline. I'm glad you asked. Classic Art Deco. In Western Australia, that's code for oldie-worldy cover-up. Let's take a closer look thanks to Google and the good folks posting images there for us. So thanks to the intrepid explorers who've trekked into this wreck of a building and taken photos and 360 images, we can actually look from several different points. Here, I just took some stills and I'll talk quickly through them, we won't dwell on it. But you get a bit of an outline from back here, here, across here is all old world brickwork. It's pitted. I'll show you a better image of that later. There's lots of this white, salty stuff on the surface, and you've got several courses all the way down. Who knows how deep this goes? I'm assuming it's just basement level layer, but it's all English garden bond. This bit, not English garden bond, I'm assuming this is where they've put new brickwork in, and that might have been stairs coming up. Looking at the size of that, I'll keep moving. So from another angle, the same area, basement area. So the courses here, there's no, what is it? The gap in between. I've forgotten what it's called. Cavity. That's what I'm trying to think of. Cavity. The courses are laid hard up, and there's soldier bricks laid all the way through it. English garden bond, English garden bond. This has all been formally tiled, so I can't see what the brickwork is like behind it. It may be new or old, and that looks like a later addition. Here, they've put a concrete pylon down through the basement so they can put new walls over the top. But that's what I was saying, there's the pitting in the brickwork. I wonder if that was before or after they built Big Bell. Here there's a hint of English garden bond through here, peeking between the layers, but that's got the gap between the layers. So I don't know how much of the building they recycled, but this is an interesting one. To me, this looks like the front or the portico of the original building, the way it's laid out. And it's got an actual header course underneath the columns, and the columns are brick and rendered in the old world style with proper brick arches. I'm assuming I've got some more pictures of brick arches. New world fireplace. No, this bit had me absolutely fascinated. That's definitely old world, and then this wall here is English garden bond too, and maybe some of that one, but it's also 3 courses thick here. So you've got most of it's double brick as far as I can see, but this section is 3 courses thick. So they've added to double brick, or it was originally 3 courses thick. So she's definitely a mishmash of old and new. Here, there's a arch, properly bricked, rowback arches. So some of that may be old world. It's got the larger windows, but I can't quite tell. I don't think that looks like English garden bond though. But I mean, the whole place was painted and rendered, and so you couldn't see anyway. See, there's no cavity in between there. Maybe that's old world brickwork too. Anyway, this one, so this is somewhere between the levels. You've got your old world brickwork in here, or at least partially, and that's a very different render. That's much more plastery, isn't it? I think. bit hard just from images. There's a good image of the pitting in the bricks. That doesn't just look like cutouts, that actually looks worn. Don't know what that's about. And there's another rowback arch. And that's up on that must be up on the second level. If I'm looking through a floor and a beam, and it's catching sun. So who knows how much of the original building they saved and then they built around it. We've got some construction images too. Let's look at those. Okay, so this is the alleged mine office. Now I can't tell if that's old world stone or new world stone or concrete block or what, but it just kind of caught my eye. There's this different coloured section here, and then this doesn't line up. I'll show you the other photos in a second. That wall should go straight down. Why is this blocked in or shadowed or whatever's going on there? That doesn't look right. Early photo of the mine office. So Big Bell mine office under construction. This looks to be that mismatched part that they're adding on. You've got your convenient ladder lean happening here, which is not high enough to get you there or in the window. It's just leaning. Disused. This doesn't make any sense, especially in regards to the picture before. So you can barely make out the windows, but there's window door and then there's the new section. So there's windows, door and the new section, except the door is up in the air, not down here where it should be. So something's going on there next to the ladder lean. And they've done the rest of the roof, which looks pretty average to be honest, but they're still building the wall on this corner. So something's gone on there, definitely. And these windows don't match, but I can't find another image of that side of the building. And that's it supposedly in the 50s. And I think that's the opposite end, I can't be sure. So it didn't really help me much sort it out. But it does look like stone. Let's take a look at the manager's residence. That's even more curious. The chimneys caught my eye, but obviously it's not an old world building. It's just thrown together out of, looks like fibro or something. But it's got strange little windows in the bottom here, and I can't tell if that's stone or not. And the chimneys really stood out because they do look a lot like old world chimneys. Another image, but they're not built into the building. The building is built up to them, and still then these little mud floody windows in the bottom, which could be stone or it might not be, but it would indicate that there's some sort of basement down there, which is odd, really, in Australia, unless it's a pub. And then again, this caught my eye, but it's just a vent. It goes down the front. It's not a flagpole. It's got a stone base, stone steps. That's just a tacked on veranda. And look at this ducting. I mean, it may well be air conditioning. I guess it was some sort of air conditioning. But then it doesn't seem to go to an air conditioner. It seems to go into the ground there. Very odd building. Moving on. Okay, So I nearly gave up immediately when I looked at the construction images because they were just so bad. Not much I can say about this one. It's really just a dodgy image, but there is a bit of scaffolding happening around it. Hotel under construction. Here we go, next one, hotel under construction, but they've taken the scaffolding away and they've built some strange bits, and there's a whole square of the photo missing there. Moving on. This one they put the scaffolding back so they could give us a ladder lean. I did think it was odd that they've already roofed this, including properly around the chimney, when they're not even close to roofing anything else. So the roofers must have had nothing to do that week. I don't know what's going on there. What's that little white block about? And then a pile of bricks in front of it. This one you'll love. So I'm looking at piles of sand. What are they hiding? What are they covering up? Where's scaffolding gone again? Looking. Oh, look, there's a ladder lean. Right in the middle. I'm going to zoom into that so I can show you what I saw. Yes, it's a really bad image. You've got your ladder lean. You've also got this shadow coming down, and the bottom of the ladder is in the shade. But the shadow isn't shaded. The shadow's perfectly fine. The sun's shining enough on the shadow, but not enough on the ladder. Ah, dear. I'm going to call that one an absolute definite fake. Let's stamp that fake. This one. Now, Art Deco style. Nice curved building. The scaffold's gone back. Whatever happened to that other wall in there, I don't know. Another stage of construction. Some scaffolded, some not scaffolded. But, yes, it's curved. Except only the veranda's curved. The building itself is square. And where's that little stepped out bit? And that stepped back bit. What's going on? Let's look again. It's curved. No. Ladeline. What the heck? Fake. Sorry. No, you didn't fool me. You did for 30 seconds and then I went, hang on. Same again. Curved building. No verandas. So the verandas are all brick, but they didn't brick it at the same time they bricked the building. No. I just add that later. And look at this attempted curved roof. And there's a chimney missing. Nope. Fail again, Batty Library. No. So this is it, supposedly finished. There's your straight building edge and your curved veranda. And they've even got step ladder leans. Is that another ladder? Ladder leans in the finished image of the hotel. Unreal. I told ya. And I just thought I'd throw this in. Look at this, the powerhouse for the mine, the Big Bell mine. Look at this equipment. It looks all shiny new, doesn't it? That's huge power. Moving on. The Big Bell mine page has no history that's of any use to us other than yields and the companies that it's been moved through over the years. It was deserted in the 1950s and returned to production in the 1980s. It's now a fly-in, fly-out site, as are most major mines in Australia. Very few permanent residences. our last curiosity for the day. Next up, we have Great Fingal Mine Office. This is a ripper. The Great Fingal Mine Office is a heritage-listed building in Dawn, near Kew, within Western Australia's goldfields. It was built from stone in the Federation Italianate architectural style during the Western Australian gold rushes circa 1902. The single-storey structure was used as the administrative and assay offices for the Great Fingal Consolidated Gold Mining Company. Note that's an important citation from ABC News Corporation in 2020. Even more absurd is the image. Just look at it, would you? Continuing. The mine office and eventually the entire town of Dawn were abandoned following the closure in 1918 of the adjacent Great Fingal Mine and the outbreak of World War I. That quote from the Heritage Council of Western Australia, who've always been reliable, unless you've seen my other videos. The mine office has significant heritage value as the only substantial building left in Dawn, and as a rare example of co-located administrative and assay offices. Where'd the others go? They all just crumbled to dust? The condition has declined due to decades without any use, but remains generally sound, with the only alterations being the removal of verandas, deterioration related to exposure to weather, and vandalism. The Shire of Kew have been looking at relocating it, but they can't afford the $3 million, and neither the government or Westgold care. Let's take a look from Google.
Mine?
Well, I don't really know what else I can say here, folks. The only words that come to mind are taproot. That's what I think we're looking at. And we know what's usually built on those. We have some images from Google to flick through. I want to discuss chimneys, and I have some old images from the library as well, but the town is gone. Everything is gone. That's absolutely old world stonework. It's still a beautiful building. We have two completely different styles of chimneys, a more industrial one and a regular double breast. That opening looks like an afterthought, not original at all. Internal image here. Well, that looks very conveniently filled, doesn't it? So full, there's no space for bearers and joists. So it must have had a dirt floor. The soil goes right up to the skirting boards. Convenient indeed. From here, a massive amount of rubble and crap outside. We can also see the difference in the chimneys. This end of the building was definitely a different use to the main building. Another double breast chimney there. From this angle, we can see a thick, sandy layer of soil before you get down to the tree roots. That red patch in the back there too, that's rather odd. I wonder what that was. It does have a lot of chimneys for such a small building, doesn't it? Let's talk about this one. Look closely at the brickwork. What's at the top is very different to what's underneath. Huge difference in bricks and quality, and the inside looks to have the original quality still in there. There's that little cutout we saw outside, and this wall to the left doesn't look right at all. Different error. The roof trusses give us a clearer picture that they've added to the walls in here for some reason. Next, some discoloration or bleaching to the stone in the bottom left corner. Also notice that it's all concreted in around the base. No digging there. Some more random damage to the stone here. Oh, and that's all of those. I also wanted to point out the big salty looking lake while we're here, Lake Austin. It all looks thoroughly mined as well. Dull. And an island in there too. Yeah, just thought I'd pop in some old images from Day Dawn I found on the State Library. You've got a lovely little oldie worldy building over there. This is interesting. He's just stopped in the middle of the road to look at the camera, has he? Oh, look, there's someone with a camera. You don't see that very often, do you? There's a camera. Very weird. The Great Fingal Hotel over here. They had power. 1905. They had power lines. Interesting pile of rubble. And this looks like water has gone rushing through there at some point, or regularly rushes through there. And then if you look, can I pan across? Over here, something goes down under the ground there. So they've fenced it off, whatever it is. Don't fall in there. That's interesting, isn't it? There's an oldie worldy chimney back here, if that's part of the Great Fingal Hotel. Yeah, I just thought that was a bit odd, apart from this dude. A camera. I wonder if he's taken the photo yet. Should I wait? Can I go? Will I mess it up? I don't want to be a blur in the middle of the photo. This was some politicians visiting the municipal chambers. Another very sweet little older world stone building. So that's definitely stone blocks with your brick coining around the corners. So there was red brick out there. And what I found in a lot of these old areas, red brick chimney, there's only stone buildings left. There's not red brick buildings left. It's hard to find the red brick. I think that's part of the convicts, built by convicts cover story. No one was here, nothing happened. And the school's a lot rougher stone, but you've got an oldie world chimney and a stone chimney, and it looks like these might be two separate buildings that have been connected together. And you've got a boxed in veranda bit here and a boxed in bit here. So I can't tell if that's old world, but you've got a chimney happening back there. Or even if it's a real photo, who knows? So there wasn't a lot of use of Day Dawn, but I grabbed a couple. Moving on. I know I said there wasn't much of use of in photos of Day Dawn, but I had to pull these ones out. We have Miss Nellie Fletcher, who won the prize for the best post dress at the fancy dress ball held by the Independent Order of Oddfellows in Day Dawn on 5 July 1905. So she's gone to great trouble with her outfit, and she's having some bevies to go with it. And this gentleman, Mr. James William Lazenby, who won the prize for the best original character at the fancy dress ball held by the Independent Order of Oddfellows, again, same date. So they were there. We not only had the other ones, we had these ones too. And this image, I'm just showing you the description because I don't know what to make of it. So a group of men in fancy dress near Day Dawn in the Murchison goldfield. It is not known what they have to do with the Elder Scientific Exploration Expedition, which was in 1891 to 1892. Have a look at this image. A group of men in fancy dress near Day Dawn in the Murchison goldfield. The Elder Scientific Exploration Expedition, which was in 1891 to 1892. Let me just expand that. What are these people doing? It's written on the photo. I'm not sure if I'm looking at a show or some kind of ritual. This is bizarre. So this is blackface. These guys are half black, half white. They're not Aboriginal people or people of colour. And you've got a ringleader happening. That's the scientific expedition. I was expecting camels. Moving on. And before we knock off for the day, I just wanted to point out these little bits and pieces in Meara, which is the next town north. You've got, what on earth did they mine there? That's an incredible hole in the ground, isn't it? What's that? Is that limestone again? Is that gypsum? What have they got there? Next, a pile of rocks. That's much of Australia. There's just rocks piled everywhere. And a oldie worldy pub. So that would indicate that Meara is also an old world town. I won't go through it all. It's just a mine now. It's just a mine. Interesting shapes there. Oh, and it could go on all day, couldn't it? Enough. Learn when to say stop, Lisa. Meara. Well, that's us for the day, folks. I'm all mined out. How about you? We are seeing just how far into the nether regions of Australia that oldie worldy settlement extended. But wait, there's more. I'll leave you with a question today. Could this whole area have contained star forts as well? And how many years do they have to demolish or mine them all out of existence? I'll keep digging, pardon the pun, and let you know. It's been a pleasure as always. Thanks for joining me again. Much love to all. I'll catch you next time. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this presentation or any of my others, please consider buying me a cup of coffee to help keep the channel going. Thank you.